Hey, Dad. I know I probably don't say this enough, but I love you.
Jeffrey is over. Mia's killer's in prison.
You know what I can't stop thinking about? Her running through those waves. Do you remember that? Before we split up.
You need to stop doing this. Nothing that you do is gonna bring our daughter back.
You're watching a live feed from All Sorcerer headquarters in Silicon Valley, where Jeffrey Tanner has called a press conference.
Thank you. I just signed an agreement giving up ownership of All Sorcerer, so the rumors are true. I'm out. The question you're all probably asking yourself is why? Next week is the one-year anniversary of my daughter Mia's death. More accurately, her murder. They caught and convicted a former addict named Carlos Ochoa. The only problem is this. I think they got the wrong guy. More evidence would emerge if a platform existed for it to come forward. I have created that platform. I call it Sophe. And as of right now, it is active. Sophe is real-time, crowd-sourced crime solving. It is a hub where people can submit and dissect evidence. The courts, they can only do so much. The rest is up to us. I'm offering a powerful incentive, $100 million, to anyone that can help identify or apprehend the killer of my daughter.
Holy crap.
Good luck. Detective Kavanaugh, thank you for coming.
I was sent. There's a difference. What the hell is this?
Welcome to the Hive, Detective.
This Sophe Web thing, what does it do exactly?
There was a scientist. He asked 800 people to guess the weight of a prize-winning ox. No one could get it exactly right. But then, when he averaged in all of the answers, they were dead on, within a half a pound. That's what it does.
Wisdom of the crowd, huh?
This is where we maintain the Sophe CrowdTech database and monitor the platform. We vet any evidence before it's posted, and then we can pull it up at the stroke of a key.
Do you really think all this is gonna work?
I know it'll work.
There's a reason why cops solve crimes. We have this thing called privacy.
We gave that up a long time ago so we can watch cat videos on our phone.
This just came in.
11:37 p.m. the night Mia was killed.
I'm afraid it's gonna hurt me. He won't leave me alone. Okay, just call me when you get this, okay?
I can tell by your face you never heard that.
Whatever this is, it will destroy you.
I don't care. This is what I'm doing.
How is a bunch of people arguing on the internet better than police work?
Crowdsourcing is sifting through the dirt until you find the gold. 90% of anything is garbage, but 10% of everything, that's a hell of a lot of blame.
Watch.
So who is it?
The other guy.
I wanted to believe that you were the one. I'm sorry that I didn't do something before, but I'm doing something now. What's going on? I got an alert.
It's not about Mia.
The crowd gave us a clue that helped us make a breakthrough on another case.
What other case?
Every now and then,
We have an opportunity to help. We can't not take it.
After we find Mia's killer, all this is doing is...
it's the right thing to do, Jeffrey, and you know it.
Let's do it. Let's go. You know how Steve Jobs got to be Steve Jobs? By understanding human nature. That's what I do. That's why I know that this is gonna work.
We need ears.
Are there any users nearby?
Hey, Julie. We wanted to see if we could use your phone as a listening device. Just a little closer.
There's no way they're gonna catch us.
All right, we got it. Move in!
Julie, get out of there.
Got one suspect in custody, the other one's
Heading south on foot.
Where'd he go?
I'm going to post this photo for Sophe users. Have you seen this man? That's him.
2 more just reported in.
guys, we got like a thing here.
People are responding.
They keep moving in.
I said tell them to stay away.
Why aren't they listening to us? Why aren't they running away?
Because people want to be a part of something meaningful.
Are you people crazy? Get back!
Police! Drop the bag. You're under arrest for the murder of Natalie Kirsten.
Unless you have lost a child yourself, you can never know what it does to you.
The state's decided not to reopen your daughter's case.
I didn't expect them to. Not until we provide them with enough evidence to force their hand.
You were a good dad.
I wasn't, but thank you for saying that.
Don't get me wrong, you were a terrible husband.
That's more like it.
Yes, awful.
Thank you.
But you were a good dad.
Thank you.
The always stylish Jeremy Piven, man. Always bringing the style game. I always appreciate that. Let's talk about this character, man. What did you like about Jeffery? What did you like about the character?
From the first time I read it, he was a guy who was exiting his former life and entering his new life. And his former life was a guy who was running AllSourcer, which is like the equivalent of Reddit or something. And he was incredibly successful and driven. His daughter is murdered and he's crushed. And the only way that he sees how to deal with his grief is to start a crowdsourced crime-solving site to figure out who killed her. And he is broken and emotionally accessible and all these things, and just a real, human being who is an anti-hero and flawed and trying to do the right thing. And I just thought it was really ripe for as a character and a premise for a show, and here we are.
Now, you're also a producer on the show, right? When did that come into play, and when did you get involved in that way?
I just, I've been doing it for so long, and I like to be a part of the process, and you're not really, as an actor, allowed to be a part of the process if you're just an actor. So if you can kind of get to be a producer, you can throw out your ideas, pitch storylines, various things, and so I just wanted to be more a part of the mix.
Was there anything that you were able to pitch or something that you wanted to enact that you were able to as a producer that you wouldn't have been as an actor?
Yeah, I mean, there's, anytime we have a guest star and I love actors and I love mixing it up with them. And when someone comes in and really contributes, I love rewarding that. And also that was one of the things that I think that they did really well in Entourage, was that when someone would step up and execute well, they would bring them back. And I think that we're doing that a lot with Wisdom of the Crowd. And so, there was someone that came in and she just crushed it. And I just thought, wouldn't it be great if she really became an adversary of my character? She's such a brilliant, self-empowered woman. The character's name is Nell DeGraff. And she now runs AllSourcer. And I pitched the idea to Ted. And listen, whether he saw it, he probably doesn't. I don't know how much of a change I affected, and it's very clear how brilliant she is. So he probably would have done it without me suggesting it. But stuff like that is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any other guest stars, or maybe people from your past, or people you haven't worked with yet that you'd love to pull into the series, or you think would work well in the drama?
Well, I just you and I spoke briefly before this, and I did a movie recently with Jamie Foxx, and Robert Downey was one of the many people that kind of joined us. And so he's been one of those guys that I've wanted to work with my entire life. And he's such an insanely creative person that, like, seeing him in a comedic space, same with Jamie Foxx, like, they're so insanely talented and they need to be doing more comedy, both of them. You know what I mean? So to see them in their element was incredible. It was an experience that I'll never forget.
I mean, the show takes place in the tech world, so I mean, Tony Stark, he could just swing on through, right, to CBS. Come on.
Exactly. I think he and I going toe to toe would be just
Jeffery and Tony Stark, man. Come on, Iron Man, get him involved. Get him involved in the search.
Absolutely. I think there could be an incredible backstory there. They're cut from the same cloth.
No, absolutely. I mean, I love the way that this takes the crime drama and then brings it into the new era. I mean, this is the era that we're living in right now. I mean, we've talked to a couple police officers. They're all using Facebook. They're all using Instagram to track down criminals now. So this is a real tactic that the police department is using. Did you do any kind of research into that? I mean, what kind of research is the writers doing, and what are you sort of doing on your own?
Well, I think that, what's fascinating about that is I bet if we asked a bunch of police officers, it's like, they believe in due process, which I think is very important. And now we're kind of living in the wild, wild west a bit. And so I think it's a dangerous premise, but I think it's also, like you just said, police are getting information from different sources now. And so I think it's a combination of the two, and that's part of the relationship with Tommy Cavanaugh, played by Richard T. Jones up there. It's part of what fuels our relationship, is that he's incredibly old school. And to him, I'm just this rich dude who's a civilian tech guy, but he kind of warms up to me because he sees that, I really want to do the right thing for my daughter's sake. And I end up kind of partnering up with him and helping him with cases. And so it's an unlikely pairing, but I think those are the most fun to play and the most fun to watch. Yeah,
it's really fun to watch you guys together. I mean, how's it working with him? You guys finally grabbed a pint this episode, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Finally went to the Irish bar.
Exactly. He's got one of the most incredible laughs. He's got like this really loud, hearty laugh that's just amazing, and he's just really, really fun to work with. And the entire cast is incredible. They're all really well prepared, and yet at the same time, they're not stuffy. They like to have fun. They're great energy. They're not pretentious, but yet they're great at what they do. It's a great combination.
I mean, you play a bit of a coding genius. Are you good with tech yourself? You good with the smartphones and all that business?
No, I'm terrible with tech. I'm a caveman.
I see you. You're good on Twitter, though. You're great on Twitter.
I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't have a clue what I'm doing, to be honest with you. I don't understand hashtags and the whole thing. I'm just, of the generation where we just didn't, I just didn't grow up with it. You know what I mean? But it's a great way to get the word out about various things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're so passionate. I mean, Mr. Selfridge is another thing that you promoted heavily on social media. I mean, you had to, right?
I tried.
I mean, have you ever been sort of creeped out by like someone you grabbing Starbucks and someone like hits you on Instagram or something like that? I mean, living in that world where now your space is sort of, again, when we're getting back to the show, I mean, eyes are everywhere, and they know who you are from, your previous work.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all part of it. I kind of did a video to remind people because Wisdom of the Crowd was up against the World Series the other night. So that's a
tough matchup.
And it was just one of the most incredible World Series I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. So I think 11 people watched our show that night.
Well, luckily they have DVR. You can go back, watch it on CBS.
And I did a video, and there's a woman in the background mean mugging me because I think she just thought it was just some creepy dude in front of her.
The one on the subway that you did here in New York. Okay, yeah. Okay, check that out on Instagram, guys. It's really funny.
Yep.
There we go. Shout her out. There we go. Maybe she'll find you. Maybe she'll be watching this show now. That's how you get the word out.
There you go.
There we go. I like it.
A new fan.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about where Jeffery's going. Where can we expect this story to go? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of different plot points in play. Sophe might be there's a lot of, we don't know what the future is for the company.
Yeah. As I mentioned before, he does have some interesting adversaries, and what's fascinating about him is I just think that he operates on a different plane because all he wants to do is find justice for his daughter. And so little else matters to him. So he's operating differently than most people. And so that kind of informs how he navigates. He has this adversary of the woman that runs All Sorcerer, and I can't tell you too much about what happens coming up, but I just feel like it's interesting. We keep gaining more people, more fans, and the numbers have been great. And I think the shows each week gets better. I truly believe that, and I think people are, the audience now are so savvy. They have so many options, and the word gets out fast about shows. So it's an honor that people are watching and the audience is growing.
And what draws you to a role in particular? Because, I mean, you've had a pretty varied career path, as far as comedy, drama. I mean, what do you like about, what sets something apart for you?
I just saw the humanity of this guy, the fact that he's in a turning point moment in his life, and that just dramatically that if he's totally he is totally obsessed with finding the killer, and I think that will lead to he'll do anything to find the clues. So he might do the wrong thing for the right reason. And I think that is something that is a great premise for a drama, as well as a comedy, because we're also infusing as much comedy as we possibly can, along with having heavy subjects, because to have that, the audience needs to breathe, and they need to have a good laugh and then get back to it. And so Ted Humphries is our
our creator, who's been amazing. He's a genius, and we've been collaborating with him on all of it, including the comedy.
The Good Wife, right? You worked on that.
The Good Wife, yeah.
Fantastic show. Did that attachment to drama and comedy start with a theater background, right? Your parents were both in theater?
Yeah, my parents are theater artists, directors, teachers, and all that. So from the time I was a kid, I was up on stage with them, butchering Chekhov and doing improv and various things. I mean, the type of acting we did from a kid was like a lot of theater games. So you're getting up on stage and the focus is always on the other person as opposed to yourself, which is different than the current selfie,
selfie
moment.
generation, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. But I just saw the new iPhone, and now you can do a portrait mode with your selfie.
Look at you being all tech, man.
Yeah.
You're turning into Jeffery. I love it.
Now you can even take better.
I'm talking about lo-fi. I mean, going back to lo-fi, I did a rewatch of as much of the Larry Sanders Show as I could. Now that we've lost Gary Shandling, I mean, what was it like being on that show? There we go. Who knows the Larry Sanders Show?
There we go.
Okay, not so bad. Not so bad. I mean, tell us about working with him.
It's funny because we're on the same lot now shooting as we did back in the day. And, he, God rest his soul, was a genius. And I was right out of college. And just to be a part of that, I felt like one of the dudes on the bench back in the day with Michael Jordan in the Chicago Bulls.
Jeffrey Tambor. I mean, all these guys.
Yeah, exactly. Rip Torn, Jeffrey Tambor, and Bob Odenkirk even, who played his agent, Better Call Saul. And it was just like graduate school for me, just being around these brilliant creative forces. And I just learned so much from being there. It was incredible. That show, anyone that's seen it really admires it. And I think it inspired a lot of shows after that.
And you guys were shooting right next to Seinfeld when that was going right. And then did that lead to you showing up on Seinfeld playing George? That was such a great episode.
Yeah. Mark Hirschfeld, who was casting Seinfeld at the time, ran into me and said, "Hey, would you ever consider auditioning to play George Costanza on Seinfeld?" Because they were doing the
pilot episode
version
of
where
Seinfeld,
they get an actor to play. And I had never seen Seinfeld because at the time I was living in literally a pool house.
One of the few, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm such a dummy when it comes to pop culture. I'd never seen Seinfeld, so I went and I'd met Jason and kind of did my take on that and somehow got the role. And
did you get the glasses, the sweater, that whole deal? Or
yeah, the whole. I just did everything I could to kind of. And I think it was better for me because they were like the Beatles, but I didn't know who they were or the extent of it, so I didn't have enough information to be intimidated. So I just went in there, and it's a great lesson for life. I just went in there and had fun.
And working with Larry David and then George, and then that's got to be an interesting power triangle of George's right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, I had Larry David directing me. Basically, George was, I think, an homage to him.
Absolutely, he said that, absolutely.
Yeah, and so he was directing me, but then Jason was telling me how he would do it. So there was like 3 generations of George Costanza.
Like, everybody be quiet, I just want to do this my way.
Yeah, it was a 3D George Costanza festival.
I mean, what do you get approached for? I mean, obviously Ari Gold was such a big thing, but I mean, Black Hawk Down, all these really, big movies that have stayed in the culture for so long. I mean, what do you get the most of? Is it still Ari, or is it Mr. Selfridge, perhaps?
It depends on if I'm in England, it's Mr. Selfridge, and then over here it was on PBS, and so it was just a different way for it to be released. They have, funded by the people, and don't have a budget for advertising, so I got to experience what that's like. Entourage was on for 8 seasons in a movie, so I think when you're in people's living rooms that long, you're going to make an impact. So I think that was, definitely for the past 10 years or so, what people would recognize me for. I was 40 movies into my career when I even started Entourage back in the day, so I've been around forever. And now just having people gravitate towards this show and watching that grow has been really exciting. That transition's been great.
Did you, just going back to did you have a favorite Ari line? I mean, there's a lot of super cups of all of his F-bombs that I really enjoy, like 140 like Ari Gold F-bombs. There's some that just seem like they were so fun to say.
They were so fun to say, and you know, it's funny because people think that I was improvising, and it's such a, you know, I really take that as a huge compliment, because the reality is, as actors, it's our job to, you know, to take all this material and make it feel improvisational, and that's what I was doing. Would
it just be like the F word for
like if literally if you were to look at the
characters?
script, you would watch the show and go, man, he's just saying every word. Like literally, like, you know, I would just run it like a play. I would just run it, and then get out there and do it. Yeah, I mean, he was. I mean, obviously, there were some things that I improvised that got in, like "Let's hug it out, bitch." I improvised.
I mean, that might be the best line. Give a round of applause for "Let's hug it out, bitch." I've solved so many guy problems by saying that phrase. You've helped a lot of guy relationships, I feel like.
There you go. I think that came about. I mean, it's just a lesson learned for all you young actors out there. Just to stay in character, and you know, people that are intimidated by improv, you just have to remember, it's just staying in that character's mindset and continuing to relate. You can, and just if you have the mindset, if you can do no wrong, and you know, they didn't yell cut. And I knew that Kevin Connolly was playing Eric Murphy. You know, I was saying to him, you know, listen, dummy, you have a terrible bedside manner. Let's pump Vinny up. Let's not bring him down or whatever. And I was kind of dressing him down, and he was kind of wallowing, and they didn't yell cut. And I knew that Kevin Connolly is a little uncomfortable with human contact, so I wanted to make him uncomfortable as a man and as a character. I wanted it to work on many levels. So
it absolutely did.
I just thought, if you combine like the sensitivity of hugging and calling him a bitch, that duality would somehow.
This is a master class right now. You can do a master class on just that one line. I love it so much. Tell me about working with Jamie Foxx on his directorial debut, right? He's got that coming out. You worked with him on The Kingdom, right?
Yeah.
A little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, how long have you known him, and what was it like working on that set?
It's funny because Jamie's one of these guys who like feels like a kindred spirit. He reminds me of like so many people I went to high school with, and so whenever I see him, he feels like family to me. And you know, we did The Kingdom together. We did, you know, I unfortunately didn't have a ton of interactions with him necessarily, but whenever I would see him, we would just have this great rapport. And you know, I'm such a huge fan of his, because if you think about Jamie Foxx, there's an argument to be made that he's one, if not the most talented people out there. If you think about it, who can do what he does? Because I remember when he got his star on the Walk of Fame, they were literally running out of icons. You know, it's like film star, television star, producer,
multi-hyphenate,
you know, Grammy Award winning, you know, stand-up comic, and it just kind of just keeps going.
Does he have an EGOT yet? Is he EGOTted? I feel like he needs to.
Great question. I don't know. But when you work with him, it's interesting because it all makes sense. Because here he was, his directorial debut, but he had already shot the entire movie on his phone. So we were there, and he's setting up shots, and he's already, you know, saying to the DP, "Man, I already beat that. Look at this," because he would rehearse.
That's an iPhone ad right there.
Exactly. Because he would rehearse with us, and he would pick his angles and everything, and so he had the whole thing shot. He's playing multiple characters. That I can't say too much, but when you see, you know, and I was there, but I haven't seen too much of it. But
what if the plot is out there? Like, what can you say?
We're a couple tow truck operators from Gary, Indiana. We're kind of broke. We both are. I'm a huge Steph Curry fan. He's infatuated with LeBron James, and and we're just, you know, we battle it out, and we're on the way to the All-Star game, and madness ensues. I mean, the cameos are it's just insane. Who, you know, you got Benicio del Toro and Jerry Butler and Eva Longoria, and it just keeps going on. It's insane what this. But Jamie, when he the thing about Jamie is, he pulls off a level of difficulty, and I can't say too much. People have tried to do what he's going to do in this movie in terms of the type of character he's going to play. And as brilliant as these people are, no one's done it the way he does it. He's able to pull off this high level of it's so complex, but he's a brilliant actor, and he's a great comedic actor. So he dives into this character. I wish I could tell you. You know what it is.
Just drop it. Just drop it. Come on, Jeremy. You know you want to.
I don't want to be the guy that screws it all up for everyone.
Okay, we won't make you be that guy. We won't make you be that guy.
It's called All-Star Weekend, and I just want to put it out there to Jamie, for the love of God, just let people see it. Jamie's been in an editing room for so long. Just I think he wants it to be perfect, and bless him.
No, I completely understand that. I mean, talk about knocking out of the park and working with him. I mean, he's also an ad guy. You guys are Privé Revaux. You guys look pretty stylish in this ad I saw, and you got to pose with your French bulldog. Is that correct?
Yes.
Bubba. He's internet famous. Absolutely.
Bubba the bulldog, Bubba the bully on Instagram. Yeah, Bubba actually. I got Bubba while I was filming Wisdom of the Crown, so now he just turned 1. And he's just been like...
Happy birthday, Bubba.
Happy birthday, Bubba. He's like my right-hand man. He's all over my Instagram. If we were really high-tech, this would be the part where you just show images of
We're
Bubba,
high-tech. Right? I didn't warn them. That's my bad. I appreciate that.
Right.
So let's throw out to some questions in the audience.
Hi.
Hey.
Killer costume.
So you grew up in the theater world in Chicago.
Yes.
What was that experience like, and did you always want to be an actor?
This is very surreal.
Haunting question.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend, the friendly ghost. It's a great question, and I did grow up in the theater. My parents have a theater, the Piven Theater. I grew up there, and I didn't think it was possible to be a professional actor and get paid for it, to be honest with you. I never thought that could be possible or be in films or television or anything. So when I was doing it, I was just having a great time and just having fun, working hard. But I didn't put any pressure on myself, and I wasn't desperate. And I think that's the best way to learn and to go through life. You know, don't think about like the end result. It's a means to an end, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of just absorb it, be present, and enjoy the process. And that's kind of what happened. Thank you, buddy.
Fantastic. Next question.
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to know what it was like working with this cast, as well as kind of what scheduling was like on set.
Great question. The cast is, as you can tell, even from that trailer, so diverse and talented, and everyone is just like overqualified for their parts, and we will get more to their stories as we progress. And doing our TV is incredibly challenging. You know I think, when they said we're in the golden age of television, with the Breaking Bads and all these brilliant programs, I think people have figured out a way to work on your highest level with the constraints of television, because you're shooting 8-9 pages a day, and the reality is when you do a film you shoot 2 pages a day. So it's like, how do you get quality within all that? And so you got to make the most of your time. And so it becomes like a beat the clock situation where you're just grinding. And, it's a real challenge, but it's incredibly rewarding. But it can be exhausting. But then when you hear actors complain about how exhausting it is, you just want to smack them. So I don't want to be that guy.
One last question.
Hi. So I know that you're a huge Cubs fan. So I was wondering, how has the World Series been like for you, knowing that your beloved Cubs are gone?
Oof, tough one.
Well, I mean, it was a great series, and the Dodgers obviously won, and they're, in the World Series, and this World Series is incredibly competitive. Listen, Chicago people are incredibly passionate about their Cubs. Win or lose.
You threw a first pitch, right? You got to do that.
I've thrown a few first pitches out, and it's very daunting. And the guys, we forget how young these guys are on the Cubs. I mean, they're one of the youngest teams. So when you're around them, it's just really great to be around that energy. They're just very positive and fun-loving and hardworking and all that stuff. So, we've waited 108 years to win the World Series, the longest ever, and it happened. So we have to embrace that moment and not be too greedy and celebrate either the Astros or the Dodgers when they win. That was very diplomatic.
Absolutely. Great answer. I love that. Well, guys, Wisdom of the Crowd is on CBS on Sundays, and look out for All-Star Weekend. Come on, give us a taste of that, Jamie. Come on.
Yes, please, for the love of God, Jamie. What are you doing?
I love it. A round of applause for Jeremy Piven, guys. Amazing.